Well, hey everybody, how's everyone doing tonight on this Wednesday? I'm pretty sure it's Wednesday, right? Yeah, it's Wednesday. How's everybody doing? Let's see who we got in here and let's say hi to people. Hello, Kez Chick. I don't know if you can hear me or if you're at your doctor's appointment. Nacho Mama. Hello. Hi, Momo. Hi, Amelia. Hello, Allie. How you guys doing? I'm so sorry that I have not been live in a while. I took the weekend off to work on content, which I did do. And then um earlier in the week, Monday, I just started feeling like just absolute, hey, Callie, but just complete but. I don't know. I think my kid brought something home from, hey, Max, something home from school. Schools are friggin' cootie factories. And it's taken me all this time to get back to feeling so somewhat okay enough to go live. I don't know what it is. I don't know what I have. My body just hurts and I'm really freaking tired. Um, but anyway, I'm well enough to be live with you guys tonight. So I thought what we would do tonight, since I wasn't really up to putting together like a compilation video, we would just go ahead and skip ahead to the testimony that Mo has been most anxious for us to listen to, which is Ezra's adoptive father's testimony. And then I'll start working on some compilation videos or something, or if nothing else, I'll at least like write some timestamps down so I can just go to the timestamp and play that part for you guys. And then on Saturday, I decided that would be a better night. Hey, Dave G, good to see you. Um, Nice to see all of you guys. It's good to see all of you. I thought on Saturday, what we would do is do the episode, or not the episode, I guess. I guess it's an episode. But anyway, I can't even think of the whatever happened to. This is a good one. I think it's one that you guys sort of might know, but maybe don't know. But I think it's apropos for just I think it has a good message to it. So I want to do that on Saturday. And that way I don't get in the middle of the stuff with Ezra and then we forget where we are. Mainly me. I'll forget. Um, so I thought that would be better. Hey, Crackling Rosie True Crime. Good to see ya. I feel like that would be better for everybody. And then we'll just go Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, like that. So I can tell you that this episode that I'm doing, hey, Cement Shoes, you're not late. I just barely started, babe. This episode I'm doing, um, I'm not going to tell you what it's about, but the next episode, because a lot of people were asking me about Andrea Yates because she's in the opening trailer for it. So that next Saturday will be Andrea Yates. I want to cover her case and where she is now and all that stuff. So that's kind of what I have planned. I'd also like to at some point do some more impromptu, like just where we talk about true crime and kind of what's been going on. I've been keeping up a little bit with the Orrin and Orson West case and the adoptive parents. And I did listen to a little bit of the press conference that the adoptive parents' lawyers had for them. And I mean, I don't know. There's part of me that understands where their attorney is coming from. Okay, look, the deal is this. When he said that their constitutional rights have to be protected, I know that is um no, Callie, I'm not doing another Joey Buttafuoco. Um yes, cement shoes she was. But he was saying that their constitutional rights needed to be protected, and I know how that makes people feel. It's understandable to be like, "What? They didn't protect the boys's any of their constitutional rights." And so but this is how I think this is how I think of it, and I think this would be helpful, is most appeals are granted and won on based on technicalities. Are there actual innocence claims? Absolutely. And do those see retrials? Do those get overturned? They do. But what's worse? Going slow and, hey, Lupe, keeping everything sort of, quiet and making sure that all of the I's are dotted and all of the T's are crossed and they get a fair hearing, right? Or for us to know all the things and then they don't end up with a fair trial and then they get a new trial reversed on a technicality. See, I think it'd be better for us to not know anything and the integrity of the case be protected so that it's a successful prosecution. That's what I think. Hey, lucrative. Order in the ward. Member for 2 months. Thank you for being a member for 2 months. So yeah, that's how I think of it. Because it does make it annoys the crap out of me. I mean, I don't think, they violated those boys' rights 100%, right? And but one step at a time. Let's make sure that they get prosecuted and they get prosecuted correctly, so so that the verdicts don't get overturned and that you know, we can move on and those boys can get some justice that they deserve. Okay, now I'm off my soapbox. So, like I said, tonight I'm going to play Ezra's adoptive father's testimony. I just have to remember where it is. Scrolling. Hey, remember when I was telling you guys like a week ago that there was a song that was stuck in my head, but then it went out and I couldn't remember what it was? Well, it's back. And you know what it is? Let me tell you. It goes like this. I heard you bitches was looking for me. Bitch, here I go. Stuck. Just that hook part is stuck in my head. Hold on, I'll find it. Now it's really going to be stuck in my head for real. Ah, cripes. I clicked the wrong thing. I hate when I do that. Yeah, but that song has been looping in my head for the last 2 days. I heard you bitches was looking for me. Bitch, here I go. I need help. Hey, Tony. Yeah, I need help. All right, are we ready? Oh, maybe I should probably share screen. I found the video. Probably be helpful if I shared my screen then, huh? Yeah. Oh, come on. Hold on. All right. Hey, you curious Rose? Yeah, I need help. Okay, where's Mo's comment? Because I want to. So I can't ever. I know the words to that song, like the actual words, but every time I think of that song, I hear Peter Griffin's version of the little drummer boy. I have some gifts for you. They're up in my bum, up in my bum. Yeah, that's how I sing it. I don't know how to behave. I'm telling you guys, I need way more help than these YouTube streets can provide. All right, so let's go. Oh, God. See, I'm already monkeying around and messing up. All right, here we go. For reals, for reals. Now we're really cooking with fire.
All right, I'll just note that we're outside the presence of the jury, and Mr. Carlin has been sworn. There were some concerns raised by the state. The court had a sidebar with Ms. Snowdall and Ms. Fishley.
And before I get started, I want to go ahead and commentate on Ezra's due today. I see she's going for the Heidi look from the book Heidi. I think that's what I think that's her look for today. Oh, wow, Max. The whole club was looking at her. She hit the flow, got low, 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 low. Yeah. Bag of sweatpants and the Reeboks with the straps. That's going to be stuck in everybody's head. Oh my gosh. Yeah. So it's going to be an emotional day, I'm sure. All right, here we go.
And I'm not going to get into detail. Again, I'm just cite section 906.11, subsection 1C. In any event, I just have to advise you, Mr. Carlin, that this is a public trial. I don't have the authority to close this hearing or to hide your identity. However, there is certain personal information. I think what counsel asks you, who your employer is, the actual employer, and what you do, but not where your actual location where you work. And neither party is going to go into that specifically. I understand. We're also, there's no need at this point to put your actual address on the record. And we're not, I don't believe anyone's going to be asking you what your phone number is. There also were some pretrial rulings that the court had made, and there are certain opinions that you are not allowed to give. And I don't know whether the state has spoken with you about that.
We just need to take a pause for this because anytime ODB is mentioned, I need to know which song is it? Oh baby, I like it raw. That one. Is it that one?
In witness prep, have you had an opportunity to do that?
No, we did not have witness prep at all with Mr. Carlin.
Okay, and who is responsible? Who is going to be conducting the examination?
I am, Your Honor.
Okay, so you may testify to observations that you make, but in particular with respect to certain opinions that you may have shared with law enforcement.
Oh, this one? Hey, dirty. Baby, I got your money. Don't you worry. I say, hey. Okay. Nobody wants you to sing, Jen.
With respect to Ms. McCandless, the court has ordered that you're not to give those opinions. You can share your observations, and I believe the state will be careful about asking you.
Well, now you're going to get it. Now, you shouldn't have put the lyrics in there. Shimmy, shimmy, yeah, shimmy, yeah. Give me the mic so I could take it away. All right, now I'm done. For real, stop getting me to do this. It's bad.
And I'm not entirely sure of why you are called as a witness. I have some idea, but again, I do not believe you are called to give opinions about Ms. McCandless. Is that a fair statement?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Now, there also is a motion in limine. The state had offered certain evidence with this other act's evidence as to show intent in this particular case, which the court, I don't remember if it was granting the defense motion to exclude that or denying the state's motion to be able to use that other act's evidence. This is with respect to the driving. Now,
a long time ago, I used to sing in my head like this. You guys should never have opened this door. I shouldn't have opened the door for myself, and then you should not have further encouraged it. I used to sing this in my brain a lot. If you want beef, then bring the ruckus, because Jen Lou's clan ain't nothing to fuck with. I'm telling you guys, I need help.
It may come out that Mr. McCandless was not to drive and that you hid the keys, but you are not to say
Hey, Renee New, how you
the
doing,
specific
babe?
reason for that.
Good to see ya.
Understood? And you know what I'm talking about? Okay,
Understand, sir.
just about status. So is there anything else that the state would like to talk to Mr. Carlin about before we bring in the jury?
No, Your Honor, I believe defense is okay with me leading Mr. Carlin a little bit, and so I may do that in my
All right.
question.
And then, again, I think when it's necessary to develop testimony and make sure we avoid certain things. Now, also was brought to my attention that you happen to see some of the TV coverage in this case. Now, frankly, exclusion order, the primary purpose of that is to ensure that witnesses do not see the testimony of other witnesses to the same events or facts that you may testify to. I don't know what you saw. And again, I'm not sure whether, I have an idea what you may be called to testify about, but I'm not exactly sure whether you have seen the testimony of any other witnesses that may involve testimony that you would be asked to give today.
I have not.
Okay. So anything further, Ms. Ono?
No.
Okay. And you understand from this, but well, after you're done testifying, if you're excused, then you would be free to watch coverage after that point, but you could not come back as a witness.
Yes, sir.
Understood?
Yes, sir.
Would he be free to sit in the courtroom, Your Honor?
He would be free to sit in the courtroom if he wishes, as long as nobody's going to recall him as a witness.
There's certainly a good potential he may be recalled as a rebuttal.
Wait. Espera. Did the judge just call her Miss Know-It-All? Because I'm pretty sure that's not actually what her name is, but that's what I heard. Is that what he said? Just so you guys know, when I was doing my work and convalescing this weekend, I spent my time listening to Wu-Tang and Cypress Hill. Okay, here we go. For reals.
Witness.
Okay. Well, then in that event, as long as it's possibly, then, I don't know that you should be watching coverage if you may be recalled as a witness. And again, those opinions. You can share your observations, and I believe the state will be careful about asking you about those things. And I'm not entirely sure of why you are called as a witness. I have some idea, but again, I do not believe you are called to give opinions about Mr. McCandless. Is that a fair statement?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Now, there also is a motion in limine the state had offered certain evidence with this other act's evidence as to show intent in this particular case, which the court, I don't remember if it was granting the defense motion to exclude that or denying the state. I think when it's necessary.
And do you know the defendant, Ezra McCandless?
I do.
How do you know her?
She's my daughter.
And did you adopt her?
Okay, so we definitely think that that's what he said, but that's actually not what he said. No, Mo, I was monkeying around backstage, moving it around. You didn't mess up. I just skipped because I got tired of the lecturing, frankly. Like, look, homeboy, you were called as a witness. Unfortunately for you, you were called by the state, which means that you're going to have to sit in here and testify. And if they decide to call you on rebuttal, then guess what? You can't be a sitter-inner. What is it called? A member of the audience? Sitter-inner. Sorry about your look. I was annoyed. Also, hello, Molson man. How you doing? How you doing, Molson man? You cool cats and kittens? Everybody doing well tonight? It's your old pal Carol Baskin. No, I didn't dunk him in sardine oil and feed him to the tigers. That's ludicrous. Who would do that? All right, here we go, for reals.
At some point?
Yes, ma'am.
And how old was the defendant when you adopted her?
Around 4.5 to 5.
And were you married to the defendant's mother?
Yes.
And how long were you married to her?
6 or 7 years.
And do you know how old the defendant was when you and her mom got divorced?
Around 12.
And what was the defendant's name when she was growing up?
Monica J.
And was her last name Carlin?
Yes.
And has the defendant ever helped you with that tree cutting business?
Several times, yes.
And what would be her job when she helped you?
Dragging brush, cleaning up, raking.
And where do you live, sir?
Stanley.
And approximately 1 week before the death of the victim in this case, do you recall the defendant showing up at your house in Stanley asking for a place to stay?
Yes.
Do you recall what the defendant said to you?
She just asked if she could stay there for a while with me while she had to get some things figured out.
And how did you respond?
Of course.
She looks like she
And
is
after
going
that
for
night, when was the
a.
next time that you saw her?
This is so rude, ma'am, Miss Know-It-All. Interrupting my commentary. I feel like she has a combination of like Cindy Lou Who and Heidi. That's what I think. Or like the Swiss Miss Coco girl with the braids. That's what I think. It's like a cross between a Who and hot cocoa mix girl.
I believe I've seen her several times in the next few days.
Do you recall her being gone for a couple of days after she said she was going to crash at your house?
She left a couple times, but she came back.
And when she left for a couple of days, did you know where she was at?
Objection mischaracterizes the evidence. He didn't say she left for a couple of days.
If it's a
Stan.
dragon, is it a cocktail? Does it
Mr.
do the
Carlin,
Dragon Ball Z
do you recall
thing?
speaking to some officers on March 24th of 2018 in Stanley?
The Maya?
I believe so, if that was when they all came to meet with us.
Yes. And if you reviewed a transcript of that recording, would that refresh your recollection of potentially what you said that day?
Objection. He didn't say his memory needed to be refreshed.
Sustained.
So let me ask you, was the defendant gone overnight when she first came to your house? She asked if she could stay there, and then was she gone overnight for a period of time?
I believe one of the nights she was gone overnight, yes.
And did you know where she was?
I did not.
Did she leave you a note indicating where she was going to be?
No, she's an adult.
Shortly before the incident in this case, do you recall contacting a Jason Mingle over text message?
I spoke with him periodically, yes.
Yes, Max. Yes, we absolutely can. I think that, frankly, Ezra and her father suffer from too much product use. Like, less is more when it comes to things like hair gel, cologne, perfume, right? I don't know what you're trying to do in order to. That's just a very lazy attempt at a comb over, sort of in the front, but then you decided to draw extra attention to it by slathering it up with gel. Like it's a bad idea, bro. It's really a bad idea. Also, the dragon brush cocktail, if it's not like from Dragon Ball Z, is it from like Street Fighter 2? I don't know what the guy actually says, but I always hear it as some blue shit. Oh, some blue shit. That's what I hear. Yeah, this is bad. This is not, no, babe. This is not, where are you? This is not Aquanet and Paul Mitchell. This is like Aquanet and LA Looks level. Yeah, Paul Mitchell would have been less sticky. It's bad. Now, Mo, why do you say he is a hostile witness? Because we already talked about what a hostile witness is. He wasn't part of the, he can't get in trouble for his testimony. He didn't like commit a crime. I think initially he would have been her stepdad, but then he adopted her. So he's her adoptive dad after him and his mom got married. After him and her mom got married. Lucrative. He is sporting the Lloyd. You're not wrong about that. You're really not. Her pets' heads are falling off. Yeah, he's an Alley 79 hostile witness, the kind that ain't want to be there. Yeah, he does have the Lloyd bangs, though. You're just very correct. Like Paul Mitchell makes really good stuff, really good product. This ain't Paul Mitchell. This some LA looks. I'm telling you, it's LA looks. All right, here we go.
Do you recall sending him a message regarding a change?
Objection, hearsay, irrelevant. His text messages to a third person are not relevant to this trial.
Well, I don't know that without knowing what they are, Mr. Nelson. And the fact that I'm going to overrule as far as him sending the messages, but as far as content of any messages he received from somebody else, that would be hearsay, unless there's some exception that applies.
Do you remember observing a change in demeanor in the defendant when she was staying with you?
Yeah, I felt as if she was improving on the way she was feeling, and we were going in the right direction.
Do you
Hey,
recall
Maria, how
indicating
you
that she seems
doing?
very different and strange?
Objection, can we approach?
No, oh, here we go. This
Sidebar.
fool. 72 hours later.
Thank you.
Microphone not on. Okay, go ahead. Sustain.
Sir, on March 23rd of 2018, do you recall visiting with the defendant at the hospital?
I do.
Yes,
And
Max.
did you try to talk to the defendant to determine what was going on?
And if you want to know if their looks are hit or miss, right, just send me their pictures. And I'll be honest. I'll be like, no, girl. Mm-mm. Try again.
Of course.
And did you ask the defendant why she decided to drive?
Yes.
And prior to that date, did you hide the defendant's keys in your house?
Yes, I set them on top of a shelf.
And do you know where her car was at the time?
It's right in front of my home.
Was it a
At
shelf
the,
she couldn't reach?
March 22nd, the car was parked in front of your house.
If you're asking when she took the car from my house, then yes, it was parked out in front of my house.
And you hid her keys because you didn't want her to drive?
Correct.
And how did she respond when you asked her why she drove?
She said she had some things she needed to take somewhere and deal with a couple of things.
And you specifically told the defendant not to drive, is that right?
Objection asked and answered.
That specifically wasn't. You can answer that question.
So did you specifically tell the defendant not to drive?
Yes, but she's an adult and she can drive.
And I'm sorry, you were stating, did she tell you what item she needed to return?
No.
Did she tell you that she was going to see Alex?
No.
Sir, do you recall when you spoke with officers on March 24th of 2018?
I don't recall meeting with anyone.
Do you recall
Yes, sir.
an investigator Stalker and investigator Dykes, as well as investigator Kowalczyk speaking with you on March
Yes.
24th?
Yeah.
And if you reviewed a transcript of their recording from your conversation, would that refresh your memory?
Same objection. He didn't say he didn't remember the conversation.
He said he didn't recall meeting with anyone. I think that he can refresh his recollection. So overrule that objection.
May I approach, Your Honor?
You may.
I'll try it a different way, Your Honor. Do you recall telling the officers that the defendant told you she had Alex's heating pad?
She said she had a heating pad, but she never made mention of whose it was.
And do you recall her saying that she just wanted to give it back to Alex?
I recall her saying she needed to return it to someone.
And do you recall her telling you that she just wouldn't have anything of his anymore? That she didn't want to have anything of Alex's anymore?
She never said Alex at all. I never knew Alex.
And do you recall the defendant telling you that she wanted to give him the heating pad so she could be free of having to deal with him at all?
She stated that she needed to return some things to her friend so that she didn't have to go back there any longer.
And when you met with the defendant at the hospital on March 23rd of 2018, did she tell you that she was assaulted?
No,
Do you recall telling the officers that the defendant told you that she went to Owen Park?
I don't recall.
And do you recall the defendant telling you, and that's where the assault happened?
I don't recall that either, ma'am.
It's all right, it's been a while. And on March 22nd of 2018, did you ask the defendant to do something with respect to your other child?
I really don't remember. It's been quite a while.
Sure. Do you remember asking the defendant to make sure she was there to get your son off the bus from school?
It's likely that could have happened. It was a pretty common thing when I worked late, yes.
And do you recall the defendant deleted her Facebook account shortly before the date in question?
Objection, no foundation, irrelevant.
Just hold on. Okay. I'm going to sustain a lack of foundation. You can ask it a different way.
And sir, I asked you some questions about the information that you got from the defendant that you don't recall about Owen Park. If you reviewed a transcript, would that refresh your recollection?
It very well may.
And then if you reviewed the same transcript regarding the heating pad, would that possibly refresh your recollection?
I'm sure.
So this is the transcript.
Judge, I just asked if she's going to consult with the witness, she'd do it in public out loud and
Sure.
tell him what.
And I'm just showing him the transcript that it starts with his name on page 27, line 1203. I'm directing him to page 28 of the transcript, lines 1225 through 1226, as well as pages or lines 1244 to 1245. So if you reviewed those sentences, you can let me know if that would refresh your recollection.
It seems pretty accurate.
Objection, move that be stricken. I think the question is whether that refreshes his memory.
All right. The portion of the witness indicated seems pretty accurate. Be stricken. Jury will disregard that answer. And Ms. Nodoff, you can ask him if that refreshes his recollection. And then what is his recollection?
Mr. Carlin, after reading those lines on the transcript, does that refresh your recollection?
Yes.
And do you recall what the defendant told you about why she returned or wanted to return Alex's heating pad?
Yeah, she just stated she wanted to return it so that she didn't have to go back there or deal with it anymore.
And did she also tell you that she was assaulted?
No.
Did she tell you that an assault occurred at Owen Park?
I don't believe that she told me anything about Owen Park from what I remember.
Sir, when the defendant came to stay with you, do you recall that she brought some belongings to your house?
Yes.
Do you recall what she brought?
She brought her clothes. She brought her laptop.
And when you met with the officers on March 24th of 2018, did they execute a search warrant at your house?
Yes.
And when they executed that search warrant, do you remember directing the officers to the location in your living room where the defendant's belongings were?
Yes.
And did the officers ask you about any knives in the house?
They asked me if there were any weapons in the home.
And did they also ask you if there were any knives in the home?
I believe that what they asked me was, were there weapons? I don't specifically recall if it was directly related to knives.
Do you recall Investigator Kowalczyk asking you if any pocket knives, any kind of knives or anything that you know of?
Yes.
And how did you respond?
Well, I have knives that I use for work that I have at home.
And what did you use those knives for?
Well, they're EMT knives, and I have them for cutting ropes when working, doing tree work, and I also keep them in a vehicle with me.
And did you show the officers where the knives were located in your house?
Where I knew I had one, for sure I did.
And where did you take the officer?
I call it my junk drawer in my kitchen.
Do you first recall taking the officer to like a nightstand in your living room area?
No.
Do you recall the officers locating a knife in your house that day?
The one in the kitchen that I showed them, yes.
The officers didn't find a knife in your living room?
Not from what I recall. They photographed the one from my kitchen in my living room.
And did you direct the officers to a second knife that you believed was in your house?
I did not find a second one at all in my house.
And did you take the officers to a knife in your kitchen, or excuse me, did you take the officers to a basket in your kitchen where the second knife was supposed to be located?
I looked in there because it was possible that it could be.
And that was after they found the first EMT knife?
Yes,
Okay. And you couldn't find that second knife in the kitchen where you thought it would be, is that right?
right.
And so then did you take the officers to your work truck?
Yeah.
And did they search in that work truck to try to locate the second EMT knife?
I went through the whole truck, yes.
And did you locate that second EMT knife?
No, ma'am.
And when the defendant was staying with you shortly before this incident in question, do you recall the defendant receiving phone calls at odd hours of the night?
Up to like 9 or 10 o'clock. I didn't consider them odd.
Did you tell the officers that you woke up for work at 5 a.m. and the defendant was still on a phone call?
I recall that she was, yes. I don't know if I discussed that with your detectives.
And let's go back to this EMT knife. You had two of those, is that right?
At least 2.
And do you recall telling the officers that you had just purchased 2 EMT knives on Amazon for your work?
Yeah.
And while you found the one in the house, you were still missing the other, is that right?
Right. Not uncommon. We lose tools and stuff all the time.
And you said the defendant started to stay with you approximately 1 week before this incident in question, is that right?
Yes.
And when was the last time you had seen her before that?
Seen her periodically every couple weeks up until then.
And on March 24th of 2018, you recall the officers, did you see the officers seize one of those EMT knives from your house?
Yes.
And then when they left on March 24th of 2018, you were unable to locate the other knife, is that right?
I didn't even look anymore.
But you looked in the kitchen, is that right? And you looked in your work truck.
Objection asked and answered.
Sustained.
I have no further questions.
All right, any cross-examination?
Yes, please.
Go ahead.
Mr. Carlin, this is your daughter here.
Yes, sir.
She came and stayed with you when she was 19 years old, right?
Yes, sir.
In the spring of 2018, correct?
That's right.
She'd lived with you.
Oh, I'm going to watch
Your
that for
childhood,
sure.
right?
Cement shoes.
Fair to say nothing unusual about your daughter coming and staying with you at some point during her early adulthood, right?
Nothing strange about it at all.
You talked about your telling her that you didn't want her to drive. Remember talking about that?
Yeah.
You had your own reasons for doing that, correct?
Yes, sir.
It didn't have to do with her driving or her ability to drive in any way, correct?
Correct.
It wasn't a safety matter for her or for anybody else. Agreed?
Agreed.
All right. This is just a father, as sometimes us fathers do, for lack of a better term, imposing our will sometimes on our children.
I would agree.
Okay.
It's not common to me, Max 2002.
You
Not a name
spoke
that I
with the
hear a
police,
lot.
it sounds like, after Ezra was found at the farmer's house, muddy and bloody and hyperventilating, right?
Yes.
And when you spoke with the police, that was on a day that you had been off at a tournament, is that right?
That is right.
Is that right?
Yes, sir.
You pretty straight laced for the most part.
Very much so.
But every now and then, probably like who amongst us doesn't, there's an event that you might go and partake of some beverages, right?
He's on the list.
Yes.
And on that day, the 24th, had you gone to was it a softball tournament?
It was a dart tournament.
A dart tournament. And a dart tournament was where? In a bar?
It was.
When you were in that dart tournament in a bar, were you there all day?
I got there at probably around 11 a.m.
And you left there?
Shortly before the deputies would have met with us. That's the only reason I left, is because I was told I needed to come home.
Okay. And again, not trying to characterize you, but during that time, you're in a bar drinking beer, right?
Yes.
Probably had a lot of beer, right?
Several, yes.
And fair to say that's not typical for you. You don't normally consume alcohol, agreed?
Maybe 1 or 2 beers a month.
So you agree that that was an unusual day for you. For whatever reason, you were kind of letting your hair out and drinking some, right?
I was.
There was some stress that you had obviously been under, correct?
Yes.
And so when you met with the officers on that day, fair to say you were under the influence
Heavily.
of alcohol, correct?
Yes.
When you initially spoke with the police, you didn't know all of the circumstances of why your daughter was in the hospital, did you?
Not a clue.
And you were angry at her, right?
I was a little upset she drove and took the car, yes.
She not followed what her father had asked her to do, correct?
Correct.
And that made you angry.
I would agree with that, yes.
And so when you first spoke with the police, it sounds like you were angry and drunk.
Not something I'm proud of, but yes.
Might have exaggerated some of your thoughts about your daughter at that point.
I'm sure, yes.
Again, not something, I'm not trying to get anything, not something, it sounds like you regret that, right?
I do very much.
You were the police executed a search warrant at your house, is that right?
They did.
And as you said, they asked you about weapons, is that right?
Yes.
You're a gun owner.
Yes.
You have lots of guns in your house, correct?
There are several, yes.
I didn't mean to say lots, like, how many guns do you have in your house?
I wonder if he was "don't jostle me at the airport" level drunk, like your old pal Jen Lou here. Because that's a bad drunk to be. When they pull you out of the line at the airport to give you the extra thorough search. Not the one where they take you away and the, latex gloves come out, but where they just pat you down extra and jostle you around. And like I had a messy bun and they were like putting their hands in. It was a nightmare, but whatever. It was way too much jostling from yours truly, especially after I got so overserved that night. What a nightmare.
In the proximity of a dozen.
Okay. And did you tell the police about the guns that were in your house?
I did.
Were some of the guns in a safe?
None of them are in a safe.
Where are the guns?
There's a gun cabinet upstairs.
Is the gun cabinet locked?
The gun cabinet itself is not locked, but the guns do have locks.
Okay. Are all of the guns in the gun cabinet with locks?
No.
Are there some other guns placed, for lack of a better term, strategically around the house or in vehicles?
There are.
Like where?
Is this relevant, Mr. Nelson?
Yes, it is.
What is the relevance of this?
I believe the state's portraying that she took a knife from the house when there's a boatload of guns in the house. And so I just want to portray that she wanted to take a weapon. There was guns available.
Okay, I think you've made your point. I don't think we need to go any further on that.
Can I just ask one follow-up question to sum that up?
Yeah, but I don't think we need to broadcast for the world the answers to those questions. Okay? I think you've
I'm
made
trying to
your,
broadcast it for the world. I'm trying to establish facts for my client.
I think you've established that fact. So do your follow-up question and move on.
There were guns that were accessible to Ezra McCandless in your house on March 22nd, 2018. Agreed?
Readily
Objection
available.
calls for speculation.
Overrule the objection. You may answer that question, and then we're going to move on.
Were the guns accessible to Ezra McCandless in your house on March 22nd, 2018?
They're readily available, yes.
The judge is very spicy today.
They asked you also about knives, is that right?
Yes,
Ezra, you said had worked with you in the tree cutting service,
yes,
and as part of that work, did you see her use a knife?
yeah.
Is that part of the regular duties within your?
I have a follow-up question. I'd like to know, what is a boatload of guns greater or less than a fuck ton? Does anybody know the answer to that? Because that's what I want to know. Is boatload greater or less than fuck ton? I don't usually use the term boatload, so I'm not sure, but a fuck ton is a lot. That's a term I use.
Employment, or when she's employed by you?
Well, if they're not good at tying knots that come out very easily, they unfortunately have to cut my ropes, yes.
And sometimes they're using the knife on trees or branches or twigs or other things, correct?
As a tool or for cutting ropes, yes.
Okay. Have you loaned, given knives for those purposes to your daughter, Ms. McCandless?
Yes,
Have you told her, given her knives for other reasons?
I had.
What other reasons have you given her a knife?
I gave her a knife similar to this one to keep in her vehicle with her. As I told her, it had a seatbelt cutter on it. It also has a punch on the end for breaking a window in the event that you would need it in an accident you were in yourself, or if you came upon a car accident that you could be of help.
Okay. And in addition to that, have you talked to her about self-defense?
Just basic father-daughter, if you ever find yourself in a situation where you feel as if you need to protect yourself or others, just take care of yourself.
I want to ask you some questions about March 21st, 2018, okay?
Sure.
Ezra and you had a conversation that day, right?
Yes, sir.
That evening, correct?
Right.
I think as you'd said before, her demeanor was improving, right?
Yes.
When she came to you on that day, what did you see about her improvement in her demeanor on the 21st in that evening?
She was positive and upbeat. She was looking forward to gaining new employment and getting a new start back home by us. And we had talked about how we were going to get back on track, helping her budget and get some money put away for obtaining a residence of her own.
Without getting into the content, I don't want to get the content, but did she share some thoughts and feelings with you that night that she'd had about life and everything in general?
Yes.
And did you, in turn, as her father, give her some fatherly advice back?
I did.
What did you say?
I told her that everything that's happened in the past, and no matter what you're going through, that's fine. But life starts tomorrow. You can leave all that behind.
Wasn't the expression that you'd said was life starts now? Is that what you'd said?
Now or tomorrow, I believe.
Somewhere along those lines?
Absolutely.
And you'd meant that as, let's move forward, correct?
Right.
And that's what you passed on to your daughter on March 21st, correct?
Yes, whatever we needed to do to get to where we needed to get.
And that was in a positive mode that you had told her that, correct?
Yes, sir.
And that positivity was reciprocated back to you from Ms. McCandless in her demeanor and mood and appearance. Agreed?
Very much, yes.
She seemed to be accepting of that, correct?
Yep.
Some way relieved, perhaps.
Your Honor, can we have a sidebar on that, please?
That's my last question on that.
All right, well, then just let it sit. I don't think we need a sidebar.
Somewhat relieved?
Yes.
That's all. Thank you.
Can you redirect, Ms. Snowdall?
Yes. Mr. Carlin, did you tell the officers that you gave the defendant a knife?
A knife?
Yes.
I don't recall if I ever told them that I gave her a knife.
And do you remember when the officers asked you if you had any knives in the house? You told them, I have a couple knives. You remember that?
Yeah.
And did you tell them they're not work knives, they're just flip ones that I'm doing for my tree service? Did you say that?
It was a long time ago. I'm not going to remember every single thing I said with them.
And did you tell them as far as any that she would have, no, referring to knives?
I don't recall if I said that or not, ma'am.
If you reviewed the transcript from your conversation with the officers, would that refresh your recollection?
It very well may.
I may approach.
Sorry, one more time, I apologize. It's the petition.
Sir, I'm showing you page 34 of a transcript. I'm directing you to lines 1515 through 1517. If you can review that to see if it refreshes your recollection. Does that refresh your recollection?
It really doesn't.
Okay. And sir, would you recall that your recollection would have been better back on March 24th of 2018 than it is today?
Well, I would think the sooner it was to the incident, obviously, I would be remembering it a lot easier, yes.
And were you lying to the police that day?
No,
And did you tell them, I just have a couple knives in my home. They're just like work knives, just flip open ones for when I'm doing my tree service if I've got to cut a rope. As far as any that she would have, no. Did you say that?
I remember telling them that I have knives.
Okay, but just yes or no, do you remember stating
I
that?
don't remember saying it how you are.
And you were asked on cross about some self-defense conversation you had with the defendant. Do you remember that?
I really don't.
Do you remember telling the defendant about when she was a kid in the lunchroom and if a kid were to pick on you, you knee them in the nuts? Do you remember saying that?
That wasn't the words I would have used, no.
Did you say, I told you the first thing you do is knee them in the nuts?
I don't recall that statement at all.
I have nothing else.
Okay, any recross related to that redirect?
Just about this knife. Do you recall giving the knife that you talked about and described at some point in the past to Ezra McCandless?
I do.
That's all.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Carlin. You may step down. You may be recalled, so you would still be under the an exclusion order where you may not discuss the case with any other witnesses and or watch any coverage of any witness's testimony. Okay?
I'll obey your wishes.
Okay, thank you. All right, that's all. Mr. Carlin's free to go today. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen.
Okay, so that's that. And wait, let me, I told you wrong, lucrative. Actually, Drew was married 4 times. Kathleen was his well, wait a minute, because it has Carol Brown, and they were married from 1974 to 1980. Then they have Vicki Connolly from 1982 to 1992, Kathleen Savio from 1992 to 2003, and then Stacy Peterson, which is who he was convicted of killing. So technically he was married 4 times, and Stacy would have been the 4th wife, but for whatever reason they refer to her, as his 3rd wife, which is weird. But I don't know why. But that's how it's listed. And okay, I see how it goes, because Kathleen Savio is the one that he murdered, and Stacy Peterson is the one that's still missing. They've never found her. That's how it went. Now I remember. Okay. There we go. Now I got it. So his third wife is the one that he was convicted of murdering. And then his fourth wife, which is Stacy, is the one that was never, that she's still missing. I don't think they found her. Yeah, he was a jerk. Where's Momo? She's supposed to be telling me why she thinks this guy's a hostile witness, although I think I can guess, and I think it has something to do with the knives. But the deal is this. It'd be different if Ezra had used a gun, because depending on how it was kept and all that business, they can, if the state wants to, they can find gun owners culpably negligent if their firearms are not properly secured. Now, if somebody, like by not properly secured, I mean like sitting on top of a shelf, you know what I mean, where anybody could get to it, right? But if he had them like in a gun safe and they were broken into or locked up in a lockbox, something that you had to break into to get to, and they were taken, then that would not make him culpably negligent. So a hostile witness is a witness who, although they're called by, in this situation, the state, okay, he certainly doesn't want to give testimony about his daughter. Okay, that's true. But the fact of the matter is, he doesn't have anything to lose personally by testifying. So that makes him not a hostile witness. He just doesn't want to testify. Oh. I'll check that out, Max. I definitely will, because let me look her up right this minute while I let me see what I can find. Where would I find her documentary, Max? Let's see what her story is. So just to give you guys an idea of how quickly Texas rolls through appeals in a capital punishment crime, Melissa Lucio was convicted July 10th, 2008. And she will be, her sentence will be carried out in 2020. So what is that? Or 2022. So what is that? Let me do the math. I'm tired. 24 years, 14 years. Let me look. Let me bust out the calculator. Yeah, 14 years. That's quick. If this had happened in California, she wouldn't have even gotten through her first appeal. I'll watch it, Max. I saw it. I'll definitely check it out. Hey, Heather, whatever. So yeah, I think that the I guess it's not really the stepdad, her adoptive dad's testimony was kind of interesting in the fact that he doesn't want to say why, and he's not really. I will definitely check it out, Max. Do you feel that she has, well, don't tell me, I'll just check it out. And then I'll look more deeply. that way nobody can say that you influenced me. You know how that goes. But I feel like the her adoptive dad's testimony was interesting and kind of important because for the fact that he wasn't specifically asked why, but you could hear that there was a reason that he did not want Ezra taking the car, and he did not want her driving. And he did admit that, now I don't know how the folks in Wisconsin do it, but I don't think, Florida has, I can't really compare it to Florida because Florida's a party state, but like Texas, the only reason that you would be in a pub or a bar at 11 o'clock is because it's St. Patrick's Day and you finna do a pub crawl. Don't ask me how I know. How long were who dating, Callie? But anyway, he clearly didn't want her driving. He clearly didn't want her running any of those errands that she felt were so necessary to run. And so I'm sort of curious as to why that was. So the one that we were just listening to, Heather, whatever, yeah, that's her adoptive father. It's not her biological father. And now I don't remember who asked earlier, but they were asking what happened to her biological dad. When in opening statements, they kind of touched on it a little bit. Her mother was very young when she got pregnant, and I don't think that there was anything going. I don't think that the biological father was in the picture at all. So yeah, but I don't know. Are you talking about like Alex Woodworth or the other boyfriend, Jason Mengels? Because it's not real clear how long Alex and Ezra were dating. But Jason and Ezra had been dating for a while, and they did live together at one point. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, when she stopped, oh yeah, they did not live together, Callie. No, And I don't know. It's kind of hard to determine from the testimony, and I think maybe they'll get into it more with Jason when he testifies. But okay, but the thing is, Mo, we've talked about this, babe. She would be responsible, not him. She drove the vehicle, not him. So that's her driving the vehicle. If I don't know if you're saying that's why he's a hostile witness, or if he didn't want her driving because of no insurance, that still wouldn't make him a hostile witness. But anyway, it's difficult, sort of, Callie, to understand the timeline of this relationship she had with Alex. I mean, I can tell it's evident that she was serious about Jason Mengel, but it's kind of difficult to ascertain what the exact circumstances and the timeline of her being with Alex Woodworth actually are, because it sort of seems like it was sort of a casual, sometimes serious, off and on situation. So hey AJ, well, it's not your fault, babe. I haven't been live in a while, and so I just did this tonight. It's not a long one. The testimony isn't too terribly long, but yeah. Don't worry. It's my fault because I was not feeling that great this week. So I took, that's the dad, Heather, whatever. Yeah. He is her, adoptive father. He adopted her. I'm just glad you're here, period, AJ, even if you're late. Anyway, he adopted Ezra after he married her mother. So, yeah. So, Mo, are you saying that the reason that he was a hostile witness is because of no insurance? Or are you saying that the reason that he didn't want her driving the vehicle is because of no insurance? Or both? Because I see. Okay. So why do you think that he was a hostile witness, though? Hey, Lily, how you doing? Oh, you're welcome, Kelly. Yeah, I mean, I feel like I just I don't know. I didn't Is there more to his testimony, Mo? Did like I miss something? Or is he going to be called again? Because no, I mean, yeah, he had a hostile attitude, but to be like a legit hostile witness, the person testifying, it has to be not advantageous for them to testify. Like with I know she has a real government name, but for the life of me, I can never remember what it is. Strawberry shortcake. See, the fact of the matter is, she definitely didn't want to testify because the truth of the matter is that she committed perjury when she filled out that jury form, the questionnaire. And if she didn't know how she should answer that question, then she should have asked, because ignorance of the law is no excuse. So they offered her immunity, and they weren't going to punish her uh, for committing perjury so that she would testify. Yeah. So a hostile witness is basically a person who has something, even though their testimony is beneficial to the person, to the side that called them, it is not beneficial to them as a person. It's different than they're like, it's like a extra witness, not like as in more than one, like a spare, but a witness who is extra. They have something to lose by testifying. Oh, did I, Mo? Okay. Yeah, he wouldn't be culpable for the knife. No. In fact, the truth of the matter is, even with the car insurance, okay, I don't, he put it up on a shelf. I don't know if it was a high shelf or where, where exactly he, put the keys. But at the end of the day, he told her he didn't want her driving. He did his best to put the keys away, and she got into the keys. And she also, got into, hey, Print Ready CG, good to see you. And she, helped herself to the knife in the junk drawer. So, or the basket, whichever one. So, yeah, I mean, he did his best. There's only so much you can do. She's an adult. It's different. It'd be different if she were a kid. You know what I mean? I'm talking about like legally an adult, not emotionally. So, yeah. But that's about all I have for tonight. Tomorrow I'll be back live tomorrow night, I promise. And that's Thursday and Friday for sure. And I think what I'm going to do is try to put all of the excuse me, and I just took a drink too. Put all of the like the forensics people and just put them together and give you the highlights of that, because I feel like, hang on, let me just look at this real quick so I can tell you. Let's see. Yeah, because there's a lot of stuff like forensics in between, but I think we should hear the officer who interviewed Jason Hansen. Remember, he's the isn't he the guy? Yes, I think so. That she made the initial essay outcry about, and then there's and then after him is Jason, and it's a lot of testimony, like 1, 2, 4 hours worth of testimony from start to finish, both direct and cross. So I definitely want us to watch all of that, because I think that's like super important for us to hear that in its totality. So that's what I'll do in between. So I'll group them together, all of the forensics and stuff that was done before Jason Mangles' testimony, right? And give you guys the highlights of that. And then we'll get into, then we'll do Jason Hansen, and then we'll do Jason Mangles. That'll work. Yeah, that's what we should do. Okay, so now we have a plan. I promise not to muck it up. I promise. I will be here. And Saturday night, I'm going to do the Whatever Happened To episode. So, but that's all I really have for tonight, you guys. Thanks for being here. I'll see you all tomorrow night. All right. You guys take care. Okay, bye.